Who in here has enjoyed this series so far? Oh, okay. I thought there might have been a few of you who were a little offended at being unoffendable. I don't know. Because, it hasn't been easy. We had week 1 where we talked about triggered, and we all left with Q-tip, right? Quit taking it personal. In fact, I know a couple of you've taken it with you to work, or that's become a statement between you and your spouse. Quit taking it personal. I want all spouses to know I do not take any responsibility for when they say that to you, okay? And then last week, it was a very reflective moment as we looked at, hey, if Jesus was really offended the way that we acted like he did, what it would mean for us. And today, we're going to look at the bait of Satan. That's the title of today's sermon, the bait of Satan. And has anyone ever heard it said you catch more flies with honey than vinegar? Yeah. My mom used to tell me that all the time, and I keep telling her I'm not trying to catch any flies because I had a little bit of a smart mouth on me. However, every single creature has a bait that they're prone to, right? There's lots of different bait for fish because different fish like different things. But one thing I've found, most fish like bread, ironically. Put some bread on a hook. Now, that might tell you how amateur of a fisherman I am. But you're going fishing, you can use bread, worms, crickets. If you're after other animals, everybody knows this, whether you're a gamesman or not, mouse and rats like cheese. Cartoons taught us that one. Okay? But what do cats like? They like mice. And all these different creatures have different things that they're attracted to, that they're going to grab to. And to be a successful gamesman, you have to understand and track your prey. Here's what I want you to understand. The devil has been tracking his prey for thousands of years, and he understands the right bait better than any gamesman. Does that make sense? And the best bait he has is a fence. And I want to prove to you, I'm not just making this up. I want you to look, if you went and looked at the Greek, at the word offense, here's what it means. It means scandalon. That's what the term is in Greek, which means the bait. Scandalon is the term we're looking for, which means the bait. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Words have meaning, do they not? The power of life and death lies within our tongue. And so, literally, when you're saying, I'm picking up an offense, you're literally saying, I'm taking the bait. I love that ringtone, by the way. That's one of my favorites. But you're taking the bait. And what does that mean you're getting into? You're going into a trap. Our word as a church this year is freedom. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So what does the devil want to do? He wants you to get away from freedom and step into the trap. But here's the deal. When you're a Christian, you have power over the enemy, right? So he can't just come and say, get in. What he has to do is get you to take the bait. Today, I want to teach you to be the clever fox or the clever deer. If you're a gamesman, you know that there's that one big buck that no one could ever get. Or there's that rodent, like you've had people come out, they can't get them. Why? Because they're clever. Because they've seen how others have taken the bait. Like, nope, I know what this looks like and it looks good. I'm smarter than that. However, as Christians, very few of us are clever like that. Most of us are like chimpanzees. Now, some of you are laughing because you think I'm randomly picking that creature. Do you know how they hunt chimps in Africa? They don't just put them in they don't just put bait for a trap. What happens is these chimpanzees, they'll put food inside of like a barrel with a hole in it or something. And it smells, and the chimps will go and they'll reach their hand in. And they'll get the bait. They'll get the fruit that they want, but when they go to pull it out, the hole's not big enough. And they'll hear the hunter coming. They'll start screaming, doing these things because they want free. But you want to know what they won't let go of? They won't let go of the bait. How many of you in here have been begging for freedom? Begging, saying, God, I want this freedom. I want freedom. And the enemy's coming. He's coming after you, and you will not let go of the offense. Why? Because Satan, he's a good hunter. He's been doing this a lot longer than we've been fighting him. And so we have to know his game plan. I'm going to give you the 5 major baits he'll use, and he's been using them forever. Because these are the 5 ways we will quickly pick up our offenses. Okay? Number 1 is he'll throw betrayal in your life. He'll throw someone who's supposed to love you, be your best friend, be in your family, have your back. You'll even invest in them. You'll help them. And then something will happen, and they'll stab you in the back. No wound cuts deeper than the wound of a friend, does it? There's something extra in that. There's venom. And see, you'd think that that's the attack. Because that feels like an attack, doesn't it? Yeah. That's the bait. That's the bait. And the question is, are you going to take it? When you're betrayed, are you going to pick up that offense and hold on to it and let a relationship be ruined? Are you going to pick up the bait and then not pour into or build more relationships, but because you were betrayed by a loved one, you can't trust anybody, and now what are you doing? You're going to create isolation, and you're going to separate yourself and put yourself exactly where the devil wants you. That's just 1 of 5. But good gamesmen, they have lots of baits, don't they? The second one, this is the number one that gets me. Being falsely accused of something. When someone falsely accuses you of something or spreads rumors about you, talks about you behind your back and twists the facts. Guys, I do enough to get myself in trouble. I don't need anybody's help. But here's the truth. This is why this one gets me so personally. I was blessed to be given a good name from my parents. And I've worked so hard that my children would be proud to carry my last name. That they would say, this is who the family I belong to, and it is a good family, and it is honoring. And the last thing I can handle is someone trying to tarnish that name. Especially when I'm not there to defend myself and they're making up stuff that's not even true. But when that happens, that feels like an attack, but it's not. It's the bait. Am I going to take the bait or not? Am I going to say, hey, they started saying these things about me, I'm going to get even. I'm going to share things that I know is true about them that they'd never want shared. And maybe exaggerate it because I'm hurt, right? Would you not say that's one of the major things wrong with our political these days? We're not sure when the mudslinging started, but everybody's throwing it now. It's a part of a campaign strategies to throw mud at the other opponent because you know they're going to throw it at you. That's the second bait. The third one. Here's the thing about this third bait. It's either one of the best things to get you or this one doesn't bother you so much. And it all depends on your history, is rejection. Those who have been rejected by someone who never should have rejected them or grew up without someone in their life that should have been there. When someone rejects you, you're so angry and so hurt because it puts you back in the place where you used to be. And that rejection cuts so deep. And again, there's a pattern here. This feels like an attack, doesn't it? It's the bait. When you're rejected, are you going to start throwing walls up and then start talking about how this person, they didn't deserve the things you gave them anyway? They don't see you as you are. Or maybe you're going to start believing the negative things. That I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. No one will ever love me. No one will ever care about me the way that I'm seen. Not as I truly am. It's just a matter of time before someone rejects me because no one could love who I am. Number 4, and this one is hard. This is probably one of the most potent attacks that can happen, is an attack of abuse. This is the 4th bait, when someone abuses you, especially someone in power. Someone in power takes advantage of you, whether it's physically, emotionally, financially. They abuse you, and all you do is try and give and do and give and do. And maybe you even try and break away from it, but they have such a hold because they're in authority, right? They have power, and they just keep abusing you. That bait is so hard not to take because it's so intimate and so personal. And here's the thing I'll tell you about the abused bait. The younger you are when it happens, the harder it is not to take that bait. Why do you think the devil has started attacking children so much? He learns over time, doesn't he? And a mature Christian, hey, someone starts abusing them, maybe they have a little more to withstand. But if he can get to them when they're young, if he can get to them before they've matured and grown, now he has a way to attack. That's the bait. And the last one, and this hits people like myself who struggle with pride the most, is humiliation. Those most intimate things. Those things that you don't want people to know the most, that you're the most insecure about, when someone puts it out there for the whole world to see and hear. I don't know that we've all had this dream, but we've all heard someone talk about the dream, the nightmare of going to school in your underwear. And you dream of that, right? Whether you've actually had that dream or not, it's a fear of humiliation. That's what this dream is about. And when someone humiliates you, what do you want to do? You want to go get them back, do you not? See, this is the bait. And the devil's good at this. He's good at presenting the bait in a way where that, okay, you're ready to take it. You've heard it said, we've actually talked about this whole series, hurting people hurts people, right? When you take the bait, you're now a hurting person and you're going to hurt someone else. It's a chain reaction. Our word for the church is freedom, but when you take this bait, all of a sudden there's no freedom, is there? In fact, we talked about how that last week Jesus said, if you don't forgive, I won't forgive you. It puts a separation between you and Christ. No wonder there's no freedom there, because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And if you're holding on to these offenses and you've taken this bait, what have you taken away? What have you pulled yourself away from? The Spirit of the Lord. I'm not saying He just walks away from you, but you're putting a gap. You're putting something in the way because you're so focused on the hurt that you're not hearing Him when He calls you. The devil's good, guys. But today I want to help you learn how to be the clever fox, the one that frustrates the devil. Who wants to frustrate the devil? Okay, see, I'm not going to bring y'all down and just leave you there. This isn't some, hey, we're all going to cry service, I promise. But to do it, we have to understand the baits. So you know what they are, but now that we know them, if we can choose not to do them, we'll frustrate the devil. In fact, who frustrated the devil more than anybody else? Jesus. It's not a trick question. Jesus did. And how? He faced all these baits. And I would say He faced them many times, but He faced them in ways most of us never would. And what did He do? He didn't take it. When the crowd betrayed Him, He didn't take it. When arrested and falsely accused, He didn't take it. When humiliated by His own identity, He didn't take it. When abused to the point where He looked like hamburger meat, He didn't take it. And when the whole world rejected Him, He didn't take it. And as He didn't, what did the devil do? The devil kept throwing more and more bait at Him, right? More and more bait, more and more bait. And what ended up happening is the devil stepped into Jesus' trap. Because Jesus resisted the devil tried over and over and over again until He finally got to the place, He's going to kill Jesus. And that's where He thought He'd finally found a way to beat Jesus. And that's what Jesus had been waiting for. Now, I am not asking you to create a trap for the devil. Jesus did that. That's why we don't fight for victory, we fight from it. But what I do want you to do is some of you, you've been that chimp for far so long, and it is time to let go of that trap. Let go of that bait and get out. Others, you got some stuff coming your way. It's coming. Someone's going to betray you. Someone's going to talk bad about you and falsely accuse you. Someone's going to reject you. Someone may abuse you. Someone is going to humiliate you. And you have a choice. Are you going to take the bait or not? Now, I know what I would be thinking in here right now. Pastor, this all sounds well and good. How do I not take the bait? I hear you. This is all good, but I need to know how to do this. I can see the baits, but it's a whole lot easier to say not to take it than when it happens not to take it, does it not? So we're going to look at 3 ways. 3 things, if we can shift our mindset and we can focus on, it will help us to resist the devil. And when we resist the devil, he flees. You guys know your scripture. The first one is this. We're going to recognize our own imperfections. Because what happens when there's 2 things actually, that we have the hardest time to forgive. Things we don't understand at all, and things that are too close to home. When you go to take up an offense, typically what's going to happen is it's going to be something you used to do, or maybe you still do, and it's going to kill you on the inside. Because you're going to be reminded of your own imperfections, and you're going to want to attack. Or it's the other side. You've never struggled with that. And you're going to say this thing about those sins. How could anyone ever do blank? This is unspeakable. I could never. I'm going to tell you, get off your high horse. Sin is sin. In fact, the Bible says this. Right here, Romans 8:23. For everyone has sinned. We have all fallen short of God's glorious standard. All of us. Just because it's a sin you don't understand doesn't mean it's not natural and it is not a real temptation for somebody else. Now, I want no one to get it twisted. I am not condoning sin. Natural does not mean okay. The reason it's natural, we are all naturally born into sin. We are sinful beings that have to be renewed, are we not? Restored. Or actually, you could say it this way. We're people who are lost that need to be saved, saved that need to be freed, freed that need to be restored, and restored that need to be fulfilled. That's who we all are. But for some of us, we have what we call super sins. Sins that we don't understand, that we've never struggled with, and we know how much they hurt people, and so we sit back and that's what we judge. And we'll get offended at that. And we all have them. One of my big ones, if I'm not careful, I cannot stand someone who would abuse a child. We agree. Well, now we all have to get off our high horse. Because you want to know the truth? We're all children of God, and if you've taken advantage of anybody, you've taken advantage of a child of God. Someone who's born in the image of Christ. Does that make sense? Now, I could keep going with these super sins, but you know what they are in your life. The things that make your skin crawl. Hey, guys, there's nothing wrong with having holy anger at things. But what we can't do is not recognize our own imperfection in that. We can't let our holy anger become offense and judgment. That's the difference. How do we do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. The second thing, focus on the real enemy. Number one, you're going to recognize your own imperfections so that the next time someone hurts you, you're going to realize, man, I'm not that perfect. I need to focus on myself. In fact, something I teach my staff all the time. Hey, if you're having an issue with someone who's serving, you always ask yourself, where am I the problem first? Hey, did I miscommunicate? Did I not develop well enough? Did I not do these things? Why? Because we're going to focus on our own imperfections first. And then the second thing, we're going to focus on the real enemy. Remember, hurting people hurt people. Statistically, people who are abusers were abused. People who cheat on somebody typically were cheated on. Or they watch someone cheat on their parent over and over again. How do you think generational curses work? It's real simple. Hurting people hurt people. And so if the devil can put this bait in your life and you can pick it up, you've now stepped in. And now he's going to use you as bait to get someone else in. How many people have you met on the street that say, I used to go to church until blank blank happened, and now I'll never go back? And they'll say the church is full of a bunch of hypocrites. They took the bait. Now to those people, I try and lovingly tell them these words. Hey, if the church is full of hypocrites, and here's the truth, we're all people trying to get better. But I'm not going to argue that statement. Let's say that's fully true. Would you let sick people at the hospital keep you from going to the doctor if you're sick? Then why would you let hypocrites keep you out of the church? But see, they took the bait. How many times have you taken the bait? Because when someone attacks, you don't see the enemy behind them. You see the person as the problem. This person comes at you, they are now my enemy. This is the person I'm here to fight. This is the person I have to overcome. It's not them. It's the enemy standing behind them. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to put bait in your life, an offense you will not let go of, where that now he has you. Y'all are real quiet today. Hear these words in 1 Peter 5:8. Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy. And it does not say the government. It does not say your spouse. It does not say your parents. It does not say your boss. It says the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And how's he going to devour you? Well, he's not going to devour you while you have freedom. He's not going to devour you while you're covered in the blood. What he's going to do is put a bait in your life where you're going to pick up an offense, you're going to be unwilling to forgive, and pull yourself out and step into the trap he has for you. If anyone had a reason not to forgive, who was it? Jesus. Man, you guys are really good today. You may not be saying much, but when you do, you're paying attention. And how did Jesus choose to look at us? He chose to look at us with a hammer and nails. He didn't choose to look at us as a judge. He chose to have his hands and feet pierced where his blood would pour out for our sin. See, he made a way for you where that the devil can't touch you. He might throw bait at you that feels like an attack, but it's really bait, right? It's superficial. But if you're going to step out and you're going to handle it yourself, you're going to get vengeance, then you'll forgive them. That's not forgiveness. Then he has you. If you really want freedom today, you really want to be that clever fox, number one, recognize your own imperfections. Number two, see the real enemy. You want to be mad at somebody, be mad at the devil. I ain't going to have any issue with somebody who's mad at the devil unless they're blaming the devil for being overweight and they're eating 4 Nutty Buddies. That's not the devil. If they're mad at the devil because they're broke and they're eating out 12 times a week, it's not the devil. But if the devil's really attacking, be mad at him, but don't let the devil trick you to think it's someone else. Those are two, but number 3, this one in my opinion is the most important. You really want to be that clever fox that just frustrates the devil? Receive the love of God. And that includes salvation, but I'm going to go beyond that. I mean, fully and completely, fully receive the love of God. I want you to think of it this way. If we struggle to love people, it could be because we have not fully embraced the love of God. We may have accepted Him as our Lord and Savior, but our little brains can't fully comprehend the depth of His love and grace. And so we haven't fully accepted it. I want you to know I've been this Christian. The one who accepted Christ. But what I did is when I accepted Him, I accepted a place as a servant in His house, not as a son of the King. Go read the story this week of the prodigal son. This is someone that the king, the Lord of the area, loved always, right? He rejected his father, and he left. And when he left, a famine hit the ground. He wasted what he had, and what does he remember? As he's eating the slop of the pigs, he remembers that even the servants in his father's house eat better than him. So he went back to his father to beg for forgiveness, knowing his father was a good man. But when he went back, he did not go to claim his position as a son, did he? He went back to simply be a servant in his father's house. But see, what his father does is runs out to meet him, tears in his eyes, puts a signet ring on his finger to recognize, this is my son. This is someone who I love. A robe on him. And then they have a big party to celebrate. Some of you in here, you might have accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior, but you've tried to accept only a position as a servant because you cannot accept that Jesus would love you as a son or a daughter of the King because of what you've done. I'll tell you, I spent years there. Years trying to be a good servant because I felt like that's all I deserved. Until finally, I just remember the Spirit talking to me saying, do you not believe that I've forgiven you? I was like, yes, you have. Then why won't you forgive yourself? Some of you in here, the bait you're holding on to, the reason you have such a hard time is because you haven't fully embraced the full love of God. We're going to go into a time of worship and response. And if you're one of those people who you say, hey, I haven't fully embraced the full love of God, here's what I want you to do. Go write your own name on the prayer wall. Not someone else's, write your own name on the prayer wall. If you're like the chimpanzee who's been holding on to this bait, and you know the enemy's coming, but you can't seem to let it go, I want you to come down right here and let the prayer team pray with you. And if you just simply say, hey, I want to be this clever fox. I want to be the one that frustrates the devil. Then when we worship, I want you to look at the person sitting next to you and just have them pray with you. Let this not just be a moment of worship, but a moment of worship and response where we can be a people who are truly unoffendable, and because of that, be truly free. Let's stand and worship together.